These are the things you'll need today. Your sketchbook, dirty, clean water, palette. You'll need this brush pen. You'll need a pencil and a brush. If you don't have these things, we can figure it out, and a watercolor set. First of all, we're going to turn the page to the next blank page. We're going to separate it from all the others, and we're going to just lay that down flat on the ground, but this time we're going to do it in a landscape kind of fashion. So set yourself up for landscape however you need to, so that you are ready to be making some art today. First thing we're going to do is get the pencil. You can use this pencil, or you can use a number 2 pencil. Same thing, kind of thing. We're just going to divide this roughly into fourths, okay? So it doesn't have to be perfect. You can use a ruler if you want perfectly straight lines, but we're just going to split it up into fourths, okay? If you don't like those lines, you can make it whatever, but we want roughly the same size for each of our drawings, okay? And if you need to, we have erasers. You can erase the ones you don't like. So I'm thinking that's about the right, so I can get rid of these. There we go. That's about where I want it to be. You get erase the lines that I don't want, because I don't want them to glaze underneath there. So if I don't like it, I'll just put this in my hand, throw that erasers into the garbage. But I just want some light lines here. So I do one light line there, and one like that. There we go. That should be fine. So we're gonna do 4 different drawings, sort of all at the same time. All right, for this first box, what we're going to do is just pencil in lightly, sort of like a mountain scene. And I'm just doing it very, very lightly. You can almost see that, like, I don't want it to really show up. I'm not drawing all the lines, I'm just getting an idea. So I'm gonna have a mountain up here, maybe a mountain like here. And that's about it, okay? We don't have to do too much, just like 2 little mountains there. Let's see, the other one, I want sort of the idea of pyramids, okay? So what we're gonna do for this one, we're gonna create space with overlapping. So I'm just gonna pencil that out, and so you guys can remember that's what I was doing here. You don't have to write it, but you can. For this one, we're gonna do placement to make space. Placement. And then for this one, we're gonna use perspective. And then we'll not do that one yet. Okay, so if I'm thinking about this top left box, it's going to have a horizon line, okay? And then we're gonna have a pyramid, so think of an arrow, right? That's an arrow of a pyramid. And then just making a backside, and then drawing lines, and you got yourself a pyramid. And then I can make another pyramid, and maybe this pyramid's bigger, so I'm using size and placement to make it look like a space. And I could put even a tiny one, maybe back here on the horizon line, like that. So it gives us this idea of space, this illusion. I'm also gonna pencil in like a sun or something. Maybe it's not that big. I don't need it to be that big, because I want it to be this idea that the sun is smaller as it goes further back. And if I'm thinking about those rule of third lines, that pyramid is going to be on it. So I could put like the sun back here on that diagonal to create distance, right? So there's that one. This one, perspective. Let's go down to that one. What we're going to do is just draw the horizon line like so. We're going to use an asymmetrical perspective balance. So what we're going to do is just make like a line like that, sort of almost like an S. And then we'll do the same like up here. And that should be it right now, okay? We'll get to that one in a bit. And then right here, what we're gonna do is draw sort of a shape like this. So it comes down, goes over and down, and then the shape comes down, over and down. That's all we're gonna do. So now we're set up. What you can do now is prime your paints. What we can do is take the clean water like so, right? And today we're gonna use monochromatic. That means using one color, but we're gonna use different ones. Like this one's gonna be a cool color. You don't have to write this. This is gonna be warm. And then this is going to be a blend of two, let's say, maybe complementary colors. No, they'll just make it a monochromatic. These are all going to be monochromatic. We'll get to here. Let's just use greens for this one. Let's do purples. Okay. All right, so we got some colors. Because we know what colors we need, we can take and prime them. I need some cool colors. What's a cool color? Blue is a cool color. It makes me feel cold. Ice, snow, those things. So I'm just going to prime it. And guess what? I'm only going to use one color. So only one blue. That's the blue I'm going to use. And if I want to, I can start putting it in here because I'm going to start diluting it. And I don't want to dilute it in here because it's going to just ruin the pigment. So I'm going to just start priming that up. I'm just going to put a lot of paint in that blue section. I'll just clean out my brush and then pinch and dry it off. You can use paper towels. You can use tissue paper, whatever you want. Next, I'll get some clean water. Over here is going to be warm colors. I'm thinking maybe like a yellow or a orange. So I'm going to find a color I like. I'm liking this sort of goldenrod color. Makes me think of sand. I'm thinking of deserts. This is going to work out great. So I'm priming that. When I'm priming that, I'm going to put it in here. But you can see that color already is dried from the last time. So I just take some wet paper towel or wet tissue and clean it out. And clean other parts of this so they don't ruin my colors. There you go. And then I can just put that yellow in there and fill it up so that I have enough of that yellow to mix all my stuff with. There we go. All right, and then we need some greens down here, so I'll just take a green, prime that up, priming, getting it wet, and I'll just put it in here so that I can build up some green, some wet, get some more green in here, and build that up like so. Okay, so I got my warms. Oh, purples. We need purples too. So I'll go get purple like. I'm going to use this dark purple because I haven't used it yet. Put in here. Put some color in here. All right. All right, we'll clean off our brushes. I'm going to clean out my water. They've gotten kind of dirty. We'll meet back here because we're ready to paint. But before we paint, we should talk about this. This is a water brush. It has a lid. It has bristles. It has a place that controls your water. There's a stoppage in there to help the flow of the water and a chamber to hold the water. And this opens a little bit different than a regular one. If you are trying to lefty-loosey this pen, it's not going to work. It's just going to bend and fold and then possibly break this. So the way this works is that you put the lid on it first, like so. And then what you're going to do is unscrew it, but it's not lefty-loosey. It's righty-tighty for this. It's opposite. And so just by going the opposite direction, it undoes really well, and it's easy. And now you have this little hole that you fill this up with water. Then you pour in the water there and you just tighten it on, but it is the opposite of what you think and it stays on. And then you can squeeze it to apply water. And as you squeeze, it pushes water through this little spot which has like a reducer, and then it puts it into the brush and then we can paint with it. So I'm gonna go fill this up by putting the lid on it like so. Unscrew it by going the opposite of what you think or you've normally done. Going to pour some water down that hole. Once it's filled up, I'll put it back on, screw it on tight, dry it off so it's not dripping water on my stuff, and then I'll be ready to paint. Right, let's do this. We're gonna work like one of my favorite artists. His name is Jacob Lawrence. He created a lot of paintings in a short time by just working on them all at the same time. I have some paper towel for my brush to help clean it off. I'm gonna definitely use that with this one. And I'll show you how to do it. So I'm going to move things up a little bit so you can sort of see them. We're going to start with our cool color. I'm going to take the lid off of here, and then I'm going to push and squeeze so that water goes down into my bristles. I can feel my bristles to see if they're wet, and there it is. It is wet. Right here, you can see it's making my hand wet, and as I push on it, it's going to lay some water down. If I push hard, it brings out a lot of water. If I press it lightly, it just sends a little water. So pressure and control is going to be something that you're going to have to practice with, okay? If you're not pushing on it, what it will do is just use some water in there, and it'll use it for a while. And there's a ton of water in that brush, so you don't have to push on it all the time. If you do that, you're going to just have puddles. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of pigment on my brush. I'm going to use blue first. So I'm just taking this into my brush there, or my pigment, and it's picking up color onto my brush. What I'm going to do is just paint sort of these mountains back here, and that's a little too blue. So what I'm going to do is sort of rinse it out in my thing. I'm just going to press a couple drops, and now it's going to be a lighter blue when I go in here. And so what I want to do is make this a very light blue. When we're using watercolors, it is usually the best to go from lightest to darkest. And so I'm just going to paint this whole thing. I'm not going to do the sky, but I'll just do the whole area, this sort of one shade of blue. And we're kind of overlapping, right? Another thing, a great thing, is if you get the color you like, a brush like this can be very helpful. Come on in. And so I'm just using a brush to then spread it out. Hi, y'all. Welcome. Sorry, students, I had to go teach a class, so we're back at it. My colors have all dried, so I'm going to teach you a little trick with this thing. I know how I showed you to fill it. You do want this to be empty when you're done, just so it doesn't get all moldy in there. Anything that has water trapped in it tends to build mold. Sponges, things like that. But I knew I was coming back in a relatively short time, so I'm just going to squeeze this a little bit and get some water flowing. There it goes. And what I'm going to do is just go over my colors. I'm not even going to touch the bristles to it. I'm just going to drop some water on it. So I wanted blue, I wanted this yellow, and I needed a green, right? And then that dark purple. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to let that do most of the work, just let it break up. The other thing that's nice is with your palette, if you have a color that you were using, you can just drop water into it and it will reactivate that color. So if you mix a color, you don't have to remix it. If it dries out, you can just add some water and it's good to go. So, like I was using before, I'm just using this to paint this whole section, this light blue. So I'm going to paint all the way down here, and then we'll come back and see what's going on. I also like using diagonal lines for this. I'm not putting all over the area. I'm skipping some areas as well. That's fine. Just putting in some, just a little, oh, look, it looks like a nice little mountain scene. Okay? My brush, it's dirty. It's very dirty. Well, all I have to do for this brush, instead of putting it into my dirty water and mixing it around, if I don't have that, all I have to do is take a piece of paper towel, something like that, and just squeeze and swipe or brush it off, and it should come out. It will stain, these tips will stain, but that's fine. I want to use this yellow one. I have some yellow over here in my palette that I had already charged up, so I'll just put some yellow in here, and I just dabbed it on, and I'm just going to paint everything here yellow. Just paint it all yellow. I'm going to skip the circle for right now, and I'm just going to paint it all sort of one light shade of yellow. I'll put this in. A trick is, if you have a light source, all you have to do is go from your light source out like this, and you can get sort of a radiant type of look. It'll give it a more of a radial look. I'm just painting over all of it yellow down here. Just putting in a nice little yellow, and I'm not even getting too crazy about it, but that's yellow. I'm going to put some yellow in the sky, but I'm going to think that there's some clouds maybe. And so I might do the sky a yellow and then leave where the clouds are below. So maybe there's like a storm coming in, or it's a cloudy day. I could put some yellow down here to give the illusion of clouds. There you go. Got some clouds. clean off my brush. I can use my other brush if I want to. These are just different tools, so we'll use whatever's careful or comfortable for you. I said I wanted these greens, so let me just take some clean water with my other brush. Show you it's the same thing. And I'm just gonna paint this area, this green. And I kind of want all these greens to be the same down here. So just trying to get them similar. And then we're just going to stay above that horizon line. So try to get all those greens sort of the same. Do some greens over here. You can also get some water and blur it out like so. There we go, greens. We got some trees in there. Gives the illusion of trees, sort of. And what we're gonna do now with the clean brush or with our brush, water brush, what we can do is take some clean water. Just gonna squeeze a few drops into this, and I'm gonna pull this green down below the horizon line, and we'll get a resemblance of that green, but it won't be so bright. So just put some water in there, and pull in that color from that green down. And if it's not too green, like this side's not green enough, just add some water or some pigment into it, and then you can spread it out and dilute it. So there is some greens there for some trees and reflection of trees in the water. Perfect. Now let's get to our purple. I'm gonna paint in this section right here with clean water, like so. Just some clean water. Hopefully my brush is clean, not bringing any of those other colors over. And then what I want to do is dilute some purple first, because purple is such a strong color and we're going from light to dark. So I have some purple over here. I'm just taking some clean water, and if I put this on there, it's gonna be really dark, very dark. But I'm taking that, and that water has bloomed out. So this is a bloom. That's a bloom. It's blooming. You can see the legs spreading on the paint, sort of spreading out like spider webs or ice. And that's blooming out, and it's just staying in the water area. It's not going into the dry area. And now I can take that purple and dilute it and make it more of a light purple, like so. So we have 3, 4 different ways of doing this, and we all have these lighter areas. Now, the reason why I'm working on all these 4 at the same time is like one of my favorite artists, Jacob Lawrence, and that is by the time I'm on this one's wet, but this one's dry. I can go back and work on it. If I want to, let's say I want to lift some color off, and so I'm going to just take my paper towel here. I'm just going to push some paper towel and may erase a little bit and make a lighter area right there. We might turn this into a person. So with our brushes clean, pinching and pulling or cleaning out, get a nice clean brush, we're gonna go back to this and we're gonna use blue. We have this blue here, but now I want a little bit darker blue. I don't want necessarily light blue again. And so what I'm gonna do is just test it, right? Let's say let's add a mountain here. A mountain that overlaps. So maybe this is a mountain that comes up, overlaps that mountain. It comes a little bit, maybe there's a little mountain back here, comes in front. And so as things get further away from us, they become lighter. We sort of saw that with the oranges. Some of those things came closer to us when they were darker, but we can also bring things closer to us by making them darker. And so this right here is now atmosphere. We have atmosphere. There's an overlapping here that's happened. And because it's overlapped, now we have a distance. So I'm just gonna fill that whole thing in with more of that color. And I can bring it down because I want darker. I might not fill in every area. Maybe there's like a valley down here. Maybe there's like a shadow, maybe there's some snow in there. And just by overlapping, we're gonna get this idea of pulling forward. We can clean out our brush. We can use yellow now over here. I'm gonna get some of this yellow that I mixed up earlier. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm thinking, okay, there's gonna be a darker side, right? We have the bright side where the sun is. maybe this then becomes darker. And that darker, because it's closer to us, makes it look like it's standing out a little bit brighter, right? This one doesn't have, let's say, a back, but we could put a back on it just by putting a dark section on there, and it gives the illusion of a back. This one, this side completely, because it's super dark, is going to be even darker. It's going to be almost really dark right here. Now we're getting this illusion. We can also make shadows, like, okay, the sun's coming down here. Maybe there's a shadow right here with that dark, dark yellow. Maybe there's a shadow going off this way, a shadow going off this way. And it's really easy to do shadows with watercolor because you start dark and you pull light. Start dark, pull light. And if they're too dark, you can take your paper towel and blot them away so that they don't have any strong lines on them. There we go. Now we got some shadow, we got some light. Let's take this in a little bit more. Think about that sky again. Maybe we make some highlights for the clouds. Right? Maybe those highlights for those clouds back there. So we make some darker areas for the clouds. Maybe there's some clouds that are going lower. That's pretty cool. But it's monochromatic. You can get a lot of varied distances within a monochromatic. One color. Just using one color and using the brightness of the pigment. So if I went in an even darker color of that pigment and I go even darker, see how that stands out even more now? Stands out even more now that it's dark. And what you really want to do is let this dry fully before you put the next shade on, because you're building just different layers of things. Okay, so we have that. What we can do now with this green one is go in with some green, and we can add, let's say, there's the horizon line. That gives us some distance, because when we have a horizon line, we know that is where the earth is going to meet the sky. And so that gives us a place to look at. We can also build up some colors. Maybe there's some leaves now. Maybe like palm trees. Maybe there's some vegetation below. Maybe there's a big bush over here. Maybe we turn this thing into a jungle, right? So just adding little things that make it look like it's a lush environment. Maybe things aren't perfect. Things are kind of growing out, becoming kind of wild and untamed. Nature has its own way of taming things. So now we're building this perspective. We can also take some of that green and dilute it down a little bit. And because we're diluting it down, we just have to do those sort of same things in the water. Just find out where those things are that are dark and try to reflect them in the water. So you're just thinking, oh, that's sort of that shape. That's that shape. We got these things down here, some of that, and there. We got some water now. You can even take some of that green and then sort of do some horizontal lines. Horizontal or vertical horizontal lines work great to give the illusion of things moving back and forth. So we got some things there. We're building it up slowly, right? All right, let's get back into the purples. Now we got some purple. Let's go with the darker thing. Let's turn this into a person. Why not, right? Let's just put a shoulder on this person. There's a shoulder. Boom. Now we got some distance overlapping. We can take some more purple. Maybe some hair. Oh, I made some splat marks on there. I need to get those off. Let's just take my paper towel, dab it, pushing up and down. And release some of that. Let's see, I have too much purple on here. So I need to get some water, dilute it. And then I can dilute it down to the next layer of purple. Go around, let's say, a person's head here, right? Get some more purple. Maybe that's their head shape. Maybe they have long hair. That way you don't have to do ears. Some people don't like having to do ears. Go underneath. Hey, we got a head now. Now I can go in, go halfway for the eyes, 2 lines, a little circle underneath, nose, and then mouth. We got a person. Put some eyebrows in there. Boom! A person. Little neck here for them. Bring their hair down because they're not balding yet. And put a little purple on the other side because we want to show distance. And we got a person. Monochromatic person at the moment. Clean off our brushes. Let's get back to that blue. This time we're going to add a little bit more blue. Now, monochromatic doesn't mean we just have to use the same blue. What we can do now is use other shades of blue because it's in the blue family. So I'm going to take this blue. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Clean off my brush. Prime this one. That's what I want to do. Clean it off. And then we're going to take some of this dark blue and mix it with our light blue up here. Now what we're going to do is put in some trees. Let's put in some trees. I want a tree right here. That's my trunk of my tree. Usually a tree splits in 2 once it hits its trunk. And so we have 2 branches that come off of it. Maybe I'll make it a little bit thicker at the bottom. And then those branches come up even further. And they usually split into like 3s, usually. And then they have other branches. So you have 2, and sort of 3. Remember, branches are always growing up. This is a good time of year, winter. It's right now when I'm doing this. So it's good to see all those sort of branches right now. They're all growing towards the sky. They sort of go over each other. Tree. Now we'll take that same blue, add another tree. Why not, right? What if there's one sort of just off the side? Like it's a tree that's just really just off the side of our page. You can do that one. Maybe there's some trees in the background. They're just a little bit smaller. Maybe a grove of trees. Maybe several. There's a big one in the background. Just a little wise. That's usually a secret for trees. Wise. Y. Add a little Y. Add a Y. Tree. We can put some brushes in. Maybe there's like a little path right here. Comes down. We could maybe make, this is sort of like a hill that these trees are on. Just by adding some blues and overlapping them, makes this sort of an interesting place to look at, right? It's just trees. We got some trees there. Gonna let that dry. We'll come back. Let's paint these pyramids again. Let's use a different color. We can use orange now. It's in the yellow family. Monochromatic means that in that family thing. So I want to just add some of that. Maybe this is my shadow, right? Maybe this is a good shadow color to give us some contrast, a little difference there, right? Maybe there's some shadow this way from this one. Maybe this has a little bit of color in here, giving it some variety, right? So all the colors aren't the same, so that everything doesn't blend in, but even though we're using in the same family a color. We could use, what's the opposite of yellow? Well, we can use a complementary color, like purple, for the sun. And that will make that sun really stand out. It'll stand out because it's a complementary color. See that? Boom. It really draws your eye in. But let's say we don't want our sun purple. Well, we can erase that just by stamping it. Get off as much pigment as possible. Little stamp marks. You can rotate, get the pigment out. It's pretty close. We can go back in with, let's say, some orange. Get that orange going. It's a little too watery. This is where you get a palette to help you. Then we can put the orange in. We'll let that dry. And then it becomes more interesting. right? We can even take some of that orange and put it down. Oh no, it's so dark. It's like I'm teaching. Okay. Orange down, sort of on the ground. We can put it, let's say, like it's shining down. Maybe it's the highlights, right? Maybe it's highlighting things. Like this is where the sun is warming it up, right? So now we have sort of a monochromatic orange here, and that's drying still because I put that purple on. You don't have to put the purple on, but I just want to show you that. Let's get a little bit more of this orange in here and really build that up. And you got sort of a monochromatic painting of some pyramids right now. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And we got some distance there. And just by putting placing, nothing's really overlapping, just placement. Let's get back to our, oh man, I'm getting my waters dirty. Let's go back to our green area. Because we have greens, we have different greens, right? And those different greens are going to give us darker areas. We can even use this green. And so with our darker greens and our green family, we can get darker tones in here, and that gives us a variety of color that makes our work more interesting. It gives us layers to it. It gives us places to be like, oh, there's a shadow there. And it's not even a shadow. It's just a dot. It's just a darker shade. And that will bring things either forward or back, depending on how you're using them. We can even put some of this in the water, and it'll show up as reflections, because in water, there is reflections, and they reflect dark and light. So we can do that. Just remember to, if you need to, squeeze some water out, and you can blur it in a little bit easier. If it makes it easier for you. Remember, if it gets too dark, you can always erase and get things, and it'll give you some of that distance back, give you that feeling of things pulling back. Let's go back to our purple person. This time, let's take some dark purple here, and we're just going to, let's put in the nose holes, the nostrils. There you go, nostrils. If you don't want nostrils, it doesn't look good, just make a line. Lips, just make an M for the top. There you go. And then sort of like an upside down U for the bottom. Boom. Got a lip. For the eyes, you can just make a dot and a dot, and then just put a line over it, like a little curve. Get some eyes. Put in the eyebrows. Put in that one side that you see well. Then we're going to put in the hairline. Put down the other line. And we got to do this. And we got to do this. And you got hair. We can go back and we can start outlining things. Maybe this person's got a collared shirt on. They're at work. There's their neck. It's maybe buttoned up here. And then they got like maybe their sleeve here, a pocket. Maybe they got a name tag. I don't know what they got going on. But just look at monochromatic. One color, but we can put in a lot. We could put in the hair, and then we can leave a little bit area for the highlight. We can put in more hair. We can put more hair. Go around here. Put hair down here. And we got something. If it's too dark, we just lift it off with a paper towel. Take some water, blend it out if it's too dark. We can also put shadow on the face by just like that. Monochromatic. Person. All right, let's go back to our trees. We need blue. This time I'm going to use a darker blue. I'm going to use this. It's the blue family. We're just using blues. So now I'm going to paint this ground down here really blue. And this is going to make it stand out like it's getting closer to us, like so. Maybe the ground's not perfect. It's sort of bumpy and jumpy. That's fine. Maybe it blends into some of the other ground like a forest. Amazing. Now what we can do, let's say we really want to make people think. Well, we have some trees in here, but like these trees are sort of blending. What if we took this blue and made a tree that went off the page? Like so. Like it's so close to us that it makes sense to make this a big tree. This branches are growing up. Maybe there's a branch that's kind of broken. There's a storm. Trees tell stories. If you're really looking, you can hear their stories. They all have evidence about their growing up. Making some of those areas darker. Now you can see the overlap and really pushing it. If we want to make it even more interesting, watch this. We can circle here. Then we're just going to put in a rectangle here. Okay. Then we'll put in a rectangle here and here. And then sort of one over here and one over here. Make this a little bit longer. Put some feet on them. And connect the head to the neck. And you got a person. Maybe there's a dog, say, next to them. Ruff, right? Right? Person and their dog in the forest. Really good. Let's see about these pyramids. What else do we need to do? I want to use a little bit of red. Now, it's kind of out of the family of red for this one, in the orange, but it still works. And what I'm going to do for this one is going to mix it in with this yellow. Let's get some yellow. There we go. I'm getting sort of a color that I want to use to just put in the illusion. Let's see if it's dark enough. It's not. Need a little bit more red in there to make. And I'm just going to take the very tip of this brush and try to paint in carefully the pyramid blocks. So this little highlight. Well, I can go in the opposite direction. And once that dries, it will dry down a little bit. And as you go further away, you're not going to see every little thing. So some of the details get sort of lost in the translation of everything. And that's okay. That'll give us some more interesting things to look at. Now, let's go to our a green sky. Well, we need a sky, and the sky isn't always green. So what we're going to do is blend some blue and green together. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to dirty this out, clean off my brush. We're going to paint the sky. Ah, that's what happens when you don't have a clean brush. Paint the sky a light greenish blue. And we're just going to go sort of back and forth. And we're doing it in little sections to make clouds. So like it's a cloudy day and the paper is just going to be the white part of the cloud. And then we can do the same in the water. So we're looking, there's a big cloud up here, right? That's that cloud. We had the greens mixing in. Now I think about the next cloud. Okay, there's a cloud like right here. And there's a cloud like over here. And we're just sort of giving the illusion that there's these things in the sky without even having to use water. Now we got this sort of look of the water, and we can go back over it with some blue, a little bit more blue in there. And just by adding a little blue into the water and making these sort of crisscross, sort of like diamond patterns, You'll make it look more like water is flowing all the way up. Just take that blue all the way across. We got some water with a sky and a tree. If we want to, we can go back in with that green and really define some areas. I really want that sky to be interesting, or that plan to be interesting. And so I'm not making a full line straight across, making a line, breaking it, and adding some more line. That's gonna give me the illusion of land. I'll go back, add some more shadows here, like so, making it feel more jungle-like. I even might make some leaves that come out, some grass that comes up, like so. This one has some more in there. And so it's just playing around. This is what it's like to be an artist. There's a lot of playing and thinking. If you are a person who likes looking at stuff in real life and painting from real life, then you would just look at the thing you're painting. You'd be like, oh, there is a dark shadow here. That's what I need to put. I am in the Amazon, and I am painting a realistic looking picture of the Amazon. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build those colors up slowly. Now, we're back here with our person with a purple. Let's clean off our brush. Using different colors today. I'm gonna go in really dark now. And put in those dark lines so it has some contrast here. This is what's gonna make it sort of stand out. Those really darks sort of right next to the whites to make it pop. Like, boom! Person's popping off the page now. They be popping! Right? Makes it stand out more. Makes it stand out more. All right, cool. Cool. We have done a lot today. And maybe we want to add stuff. Okay, like now this is the time. We have things where they are, right? We have some pyramids. We have all sorts of things. Well, we can add in something to make it stand out. We've done this monochromatic thing. Well, what if we had, let's say, a boat in here? Maybe there's a boat coming down this sort of stream. Let's see, maybe there's a boat right here. Maybe it's like a canoe and it's just sitting in the water, right? Well, then we're gonna have a shadow of the canoe, right? So there's gonna be like this canoe that comes up. That's sort of the opposite of it. So think of like a banana one way and a banana the other way for the shadow. Now, that doesn't look like a boat, right? It just looks like two colors. Well, we need some darker colors in there, but we're gonna let this dry. We're gonna let it dry, we have to. We can go back and touch up some other areas, like this blue. We could come back in here and be like, we want this to stand out more. Just add it. We could add more depth within our works just by adding things. A little bit later on, going back, adding things, gives us a flow, a depth. Our person, we want them to stand out. Let's make them darker, right? This person with their dog or their, I don't know, wagon. There's a thing there. Just adding little things. Maybe they got a backpack on. They're going hiking. They're going to go camping. You can add little things. Maybe there's a boulder right here, a rock, right? Maybe it's Rock City. Maybe there's like several boulders right here, right? A little stony to get up in here. That tree branch, maybe it needs to be even darker. The one that's coming off the page. Everything we're doing. Now, you can do too much, obviously, right? But it's a way of working. We can also use blue in this green one now. Just going in with a little blue on top to make the inside of the canoe. It's not gonna stop you. It gives you sort of the inside of that canoe. But then we also need the bottom of it, right? To give it some definition. We can also fill it in. So now we have a bright and a dark area. Now we know that this right here is a bit of the canoe, and we can take some clean water and erase it a little bit so it looks more like a shadow on the water. And we can go back in with our paper towel and take some of that off so it looks more like it. Now, canoe can't be something without a person in it, so let's just put a person here. Maybe they're in the back of the canoe. They're like, I want a canoe today. I don't know if you've been in a canoe. They're very hard to deal with. I'm not a big fan of canoes. You have to be with people who know how to canoe. Otherwise, it's not good. Maybe they're pulling a net out of the water. That's what I see. Maybe I'm in, I don't know, Thailand, maybe the Philippines, and I see someone working and they're pulling in a net. I could do that. Monochromatic scene of the moment, you know? Another thing for portraits, a great thing when you're working on something like this, you could do a wash, a light wash. I'll show you what that looks like over here. That's a bright color, right? But I didn't wash my color down, so I'm just going to do a sort of pull that light out. And this is a great sort of way to like blend your character in and make it sort of really monochromatic. Gives it a mood. But if I want to brighten it up and I want that person to stand out more, just find the color on the color wheel, which is yellow, opposite of purple, right? And take some clean water, blend that out. And now that person's really going to stand out. Really stand out here with those colors. So you can sort of see how you use monochromatic colors with complementary colors can really make things stand out. And this is why we need light, because if we don't have light, we can't really see things that well. So, and then just cleaning this up and getting it all in. And now we have 4 different ways of making monochromatic, and it didn't take long, right? It didn't take long to do all these because we're just working slowly by slowly and working one color at a time, letting things dry. If I was trying to work faster, I might get a hair dryer and dry it and then work on it again. But because I'm working at a pace, I can now go back and make things even better just by, maybe these people need shadows. They're casting a shadow over here, sorry. I can go back in and just mess around with it the way I want and make it the way I want this thing to be. And so just working slow, just enjoying the process, fiddling with things as you want to, knowing that there is a little bit of erasing, but planning always helps. Planning always helps. Maybe I'll have the dog look that way. So we get the muzzle in. There we go. So we have people, we have places, all sorts of things with just monochromatic colors. Just taking that color and going from a light to a dark, just working your way up can allow you to have a lot of things. We have overlapping to create distance. We have placement, just putting things. We have perspective. Think of this as the 1-point perspective and all the lines coming off of it. If we were to do that, that would kind of work with the boat and the person. All sorts of things. As this is drying, I'm going to go actually back on with this light color and put it on the edge. And that'll give me some more definition on this boat, this canoe, if you may. I can even go into the water and put a light line right there. And then I can even go back and put in some lines around the canoe. So it gives, like, there's a line of definition. I might not do all of it, and then I might take my, sort of smooch it out a little bit so it doesn't look exactly like the other one, right? There you go. Canoe, shadow. I think we're good. We could go back over, yeah, let's do that. Take some of that color. I'm gonna take some clean water, dilute it down. This is why we have paint palettes, so we don't have to find it again. just gonna put this on a corner on this side, just to give it some depth. And we can go over some of those lines that we made so they kind of look old and rusty and dusty. Know that the side that's furthest from the sun should be the darkest. And we can do that just by adding a little red on that dark side, like so. Now it really pushes that back. We can do the same on this side and this side, because this is the side that's not touching the sun. So you can sort of hide things a little bit. We can bring some of this in here as well. Why not? Why not? Bob Ross used to spend hours watching him painting. And you know what? There's a way to paint anything. There is. There really is. And like, things can just be mistakes. They're okay. As long as we learn from them or learn how to work with them, we'll be fine. So, 4 different ways of using monochromatic, thinking about, hey, create a mood, making it brighter, things like that. And then before you do, empty this brush out by going in the opposite way than you think. You can pour it into your dish, just squeeze it out. Make sure there's no water in it. I tend to, after I clean my brush and reshape it, that brush, I tend to leave these unscrewed so they dry out. Just so that they're not moldy when you use them again. That's it. You don't want mold in there, it'll make you sick. But yeah, if you plan on using it a lot, you can keep water in it. It's great for traveling. I would not use this in your backpack full of water because they have a tendency to leak. So keep this thing dry if you plan on having one. Please keep these in the set so the next students can learn on them. But if you tend to buy yourself one, they're like $1, sometimes $2. Sometimes you get a pack of like 3 for like $4 or something. But I tend to keep it like this in my pencil pouch, or I'll just dry it out really well, and then I will screw this back together and then just have this dry in my pencil case or in my watercolor set, and then when I'm ready to use it, then I fill it up and then I dry it out once I'm done. All right. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I love working with you, and I can't wait to see what you make. Take a picture, turn it in. I hope you have a great day.